So what is MAP coaching and how can it help you? Well, MAP, first of all, works for everybody and everything. I know that kind of sounds really general and everybody says that about everything, but as you go on to this video, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. But specifically when I use it in clinic, I use it very specifically for a lot of clients who've gone through complex trauma. So steady and consistent type of abuse, especially in those early and formative years where patterns are very deeply ingrained. And also for people with habits and addictions and sabotage patterns that you've spent years and different modalities trying to release and they're still there. So MAP is absolutely perfect for those type of situations. Now, what is it based on? So MAP is based on learning theory. And what that means is that everything from conception to now is based on memories. In other words, learned behaviors. So all of your actions, all of your decisions, all of your habits, your family dynamics, your sabotage patterns are based on memories. And in fact, we're learning new things every day. So the memories just keep being added to. Now, sometimes these memories have really intense emotions attached to them, and that could be because they're grief, or it's repeated abuses, or even just an abuse. There's traumas. It could even be movie scenes and even dreams. Sometimes we're aware of where these emotions come from, and sometimes we're not. They've happened so far back in our childhood that we really don't remember what was going on. But emotions are also memories, and the thing with intense emotional experiences is those emotional memories are held very deep into our body, in our cellular memory. And in fact, when these events occur, your reptilian brain kicks in and it takes a snapshot of everything that's going on for you in that time, what you're smelling, what you're tasting, what you're hearing, like all your senses come alive and a snapshot is taken. And these are actually what we call triggers. Now, our behaviors are triggered by these emotional memories, and it's the intensity of these emotional memories that determines the behavior you choose in any given moment. So for happy memories, of course, that are being triggered, then you're experiencing joy and laughter. But for sad or negative memories that are being triggered, then of course you're going to react in ways such as addiction, anxiety, depression, rages, sabotage patterns, and so on. And these emotions can be triggered by an internal stimulus, such as repeated negative thoughts or even certain thoughts, or external stimulations, such as a person, a place, or a thing. And the intensity of these emotions completely overrides everything else, including reason, and causes us to behave in a certain way based on the emotion, the thought, the senses, the whole sensorial event that is being triggered. So most of the time we have no idea what is going on and why we're being triggered. We just know that this is a really unhelpful behavior and we seem powerless to stop it, despite sometimes having spent years working, trying to find out the source and the root of the problem that's holding this in place. Take, for example, somebody who has a sabotage pattern in an intimate relationship where they're attracting the same type of person time and time again. You know, what they're reacting to is an old memory with intense emotions attached to it, and intense sensorial sensations attached to it. So they're effectively reliving this old memory and old memory time and time again, because nothing has ever resolved these intense emotion experiences. They've never been resolved and brought back into balance, for want of a better word. So they're affecting your life now. And the same is true for money, the same is true for procrastination, the same is true for being stuck, all that kind of stuff. So what MAP does is it disconnects the connection between the senses, the thoughts, and the emotions from the memory. So you still have the memory, but you no longer have all of this emotional stuff keeping it in play. And so you're much more able to consciously choose your behaviors, and you're no longer tied up in this old unresolved emotional behavior that has kept your life sort of held hostage, for want of a better word, for however long you've been carrying this for. So you can stop the whole pattern by releasing the core negative emotion from the core memory. It's beautiful. So how does it do that? Well, MAP works in the area of the infinite intelligence. Now, I know that sounds a bit woo, but we've all heard of people that have cured themselves of terminal illnesses, or rebuilt their body after horrific accidents and being told they'll never walk again, or even the mother that's lifted the car has found the strength to lift the car off her child's trapped body. There is a greater intelligence around us that these people have tapped into, and this is where I work within the MAP area. We work in that infinite intelligence space. Now, some people call it the superconscious, and Dr. Garry Flint, who developed the process healing method, which MAP is based on, he actually called it the subconscious. We literally command your infinite intelligent mind to heal whatever it is we are working on. Now, there's 74 pages of commands, and we can work on anything from a genogram. So we can take a genogram of your family. We can start with your grandparents or your great-grandparents and go with your children or grandchildren. It really is up to you. And we mark out where the negative relationships are, and then we work on neutralizing your experiences of that person. Now, that doesn't mean if there's a predator in your family that you've been subjected to, that all of a sudden you're going to wrap your arms around them. You're still going to recognize people for what they are, but you're not going to be negatively affected by this angst that you're carrying inside. And whether we like to admit it or not, all of that stuff that's built up with family is a filter that we filter life through. So it is affecting you, and it is affecting your outer life, even if you're not with your family and the choices that you make. One of the other things that we have is a storyline, which I particularly love. And the storyline is great for sabotage patterns. And sabotage patterns can be the obvious ones, like we've spoken about before with the relationships, or they can be the less obvious ones. And I've had a few of these where you have something that's happening in your life, and you don't really realize, because it's a completely different situation, that it's actually tied to something that happened, maybe a decade ago, maybe, in your childhood, whatever. And the reason they're connected is, while they might be completely different scenarios, you're left with the same feeling. So this could be an intimate relationship. This one could be a work relationship. There could be another one to do with family or friends further down the way, so it's really, it's a really fantastic process for clearing sabotage patterns. And that, I suppose that's why we call it the storyline. It's like a string of pearls. Once you release a few, then they all kind of break off. We can work on your chakras, we can work on organs, beliefs, emotions. There's something else called unfinished communications, which I love. How many times have you, or how much have you got of unfinished communications, which are things that you wished you'd said but you never had? We all have multiples of those, and it's really quite freeing when especially if you're working with a particular person and you've got all this bottled up stuff that you never got to say. So unfinished communications, there's working on resentments and forgiveness, and there's also kind of things like parts. If people are familiar with NLP, then we're made up of multiple different parts that have come into play during our lives. We've got predispositions, we've got structures of emotions. Like, there's just, as I said, so much to work with. It truly is an amazing experience. And goals. One of the incredible things with goals with MAP is that we can set a goal for you something that you really love, and then we work to clear all of the doubts, all of the resistance, procrastination, stuckness, all of the reasons you feel or think that that won't happen, and then we can magnetize it so that it comes into, so you can actually feel it like you've actually achieved it. And that is the point with goals. So MAP is a truly wonderful experience. Now, it is a 2-hour session, so it will cost a 2-hour fee. It is amazing for Zoom. I find clients quite often like to do Zoom from home with MAP because they can lie in bed, and when it's finished, they can be quite reflective, because MAP is a journey. You literally go on a journey. We have no idea what's going to come up during the process. It always constantly amazes me. All you need to do while you're experiencing a MAP journey is to relax, listen passively, and observe what's going on in your body. And I can tell you from my own experience and from clients, when we go into MAP and start working with it, weird memories will pop into your head. It might be the way somebody's looked at you that will give you like, oh my God, that aha moment. It could be sensations. Sometimes you feel like sometimes I feel like my head's going to explode as something's being worked through. It's really kind of cool what goes on while you're in a MAP session. But it's also very lazy for the client, for want of a better word, because I do all the work. We sort of have a conversation about what's going on with you, and then we'll do a bit of a treatment. And then we'll have a rest and have a bit more of a conversation. We'll talk about what came up during that time. If anything did, we'll take a rating to see what your SUDS rating, to see how you're feeling, and then we'll go back into treating. And by the end of the session, you should be in a place of neutral, peaceful, contentment, and completeness. So if this is something that interests you, then please get in touch using the contact form below, or email or call me. I also do group sessions using MAP, so it's a great way of experiencing what MAP is without having to go to the full whole hog of a 2-hour session. But it is an incredible process. So as I said, if you're somebody who's been trying to move something for a long time and it's just not moving, then MAP is definitely something you should be looking at. Okay.